Aha! Welcome everyone, all my friends around the world, to Tapping My Own Phone with Ron Whitehead, yours truly, produced by my friend Shooter Russell. And today we're obviously moving in a new direction with other people. Shooter has, unbeknownst to me, and this program is set up so that Shooter asks me a question, any question he chooses, on any topic whatsoever, and I respond spontaneously to it. And so today, Shooter has gone, is coloring outside the box. He's invited someone else to ask a question, David Pratt, managing editor for Gonzo Today. And I'm honored to be poetry editor for Gonzo Today. Check it out, gonzotoday.com. It's on Facebook too. And David asked, is poetry relevant today? And if so, how and why do I write it? Oh, well, that's a loaded question, isn't it? I reckon every question's loaded. Is poetry relevant? Well, in my world, it's no more relevant than I am. I was born a poet. I am poetry in motion. I had to hide the fact that I was a poet all my life. I've known it since I was a boy. I grew up on a farm in Kentucky, and whenever, we dwell in space. We measure space with time. But if that's all there was, life would be boring. It would be metronomic. Da-da, 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 tick tock. But there's this third magical element called rhythm, which injects the beat, the move, the dance into life, that makes life become poetry. Music, song, poetry and music are one and the same. They're in bed together. Making love, having babies called poems and songs. When I was a boy, I walked across the yard, through the barn, through the meadow, through the fields, down the dirt roads, the back roads, the forest, the creek beds. I walked with a rhythm, and in that rhythm came words, and the words became songs, and I sang songs which I memorized. I memorized poems by other people. We got Reader's Digest in the mail down there on the farm in Kentucky, and Daddy, who was a coal miner and a farmer, always called me in and said, "Ronnie, sit down. We're going to do word power." Reader's Digest had word power, and it was all about, he would ask me how to spell words and ask me the definitions of the words. So I recognized that even though Daddy recited poems too, he loved poetry. Daddy was a mechanical genius. He built the world's largest strip mining machine, which John Prine talks about in his song Paradise. Daddy operated that machine, but Daddy loved poetry. And that was one way that Daddy and I connected with each other, because I love poetry too. But growing up on a farm and the way I grew up in that wilderness, that pioneer land of Kentucky, it wasn't okay to say, when I asked, "What are you going to be when you grow up, boy?" "Well, I'm going to be a poet." Well, that would have meant one more ass whipping. And so I was raised tough, but I was raised gentle, but I was always a poet. I paid attention, even when people didn't think I was listening. Listening is the greatest art of all. I was listening. I was listening when I sat in the woods, when Daddy taught me how to hunt, and I sat for 3 or 4 hours waiting for squirrels to come in the trees at sunrise, before sunset. I was listening to the woods, to the wind, to the crows. And I was recording everything I listened to. And when we look at each other, when we look at the world, we're seeing, we're listening, and I recorded all of that as I do now. in my being. I write my poems and my books in my mind, in my heart, and in my soul first. And I let them, through some kind of an alchemical process, I let them go through that crucible of fire and come out. They shape themselves inside me, and then they come out. And sometimes they're good. If I give them enough time, they're even better. I wrote a 200-page book with 3 pages of notes over a 2-year period of time inside myself. And then it all spilled out in a week's time. And then I did the editing to it. I do a lot of the editing in my mind, but I handwrite stuff. And, well, recently I've started typing stuff out on Facebook, actually, and doing the editing there. And I even post stuff, and then I'll go back and edit it. And then I print it out. Editing is a continual process. Is poetry relevant today? Is life relevant today? Poetry is life. Life is poetry. When you hold your lover's hand, when you hold a little baby, we're all poets. We're all poets. The actions of our lives are poems. It's the poet's job, calling, to record all those actions and events that life is filled with, the good, the bad, the ugly. And real poetry is brutally and gently honest. Poetry is forever relevant. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word is poetry. Thank you.